I rise today in opposition of H.R. 903. When Congress created the Transportation Security Administration more than 20 years ago, in the wake of the attacks on 9/11, this body provided the TSA administrator with unique authorities in the management of its personnel. H.R. 903 would eliminate this vital flexibility and infringe upon TSA's ability to immediately respond to evolving threats and to protect the traveling public. This bill goes against Congress' intent by moving an entire agency into an antiquated 1940s system of Title V of the U.S. Code. TSA will not be able to take emerging intelligence and quickly change security screening procedures at airport without unnecessary and dangerous delays due to the collective bargaining requirements of this bill. Since 9/11, TSA has kept our nation's transportation system secure. Airport screeners and federal air marshals have responded time and time again to emerging threats. For example, checkpoint screening procedures were changed almost overnight in response to the liquid explosive plot in 2006 and the personal electronic device threat in 2017. Such immediate and agile responses will be severely hindered under H.R. 903. Security policy should not be subject to union bargaining. In addition, TSA will no longer be able to easily remove employees who have committed serious misconduct. If a TSA screener is caught smuggling drugs or weapons, it will be nearly impossible for TSA to immediately terminate them due to the layers of bureaucracy in the Title V system. According to TSA, this bill will cost an astronomical amount of almost $8 billion over a 5-year period. And much of that money won't go to the frontline personnel. The amount of overhead costs associated with moving an entire agency to Title V means that billions of dollars will be spent on the transition and will require the hiring of hundreds of new employees, not frontline line workers who would be protecting the traveling public, but instead bureaucrats who will facilitate this massive labor relations effort. If we actually want to address the needs of frontline workers, we would focus on securing more funding for their pay. Instead, H.R. 903 will waste billions in taxpayer dollars to create more bureaucracy and provide even more money to headquarters and those who work there, who already have a much higher salary than the dedicated frontline personnel. I'm extremely concerned that passing this bill would create a massive unfunded mandate that will ultimately divert critical funding from other important DHS priorities like border security, cybersecurity, and emergency response. If my friends in the majority were truly focused on prioritizing and improving the pay of TSA frontline workers rather than prioritizing and empowering the unions, they would support frontline pay raises without the expense and the unnecessary bureaucracy of Title V. Unfortunately, the majority rejected an amendment by Ranking Member Katko at the markup that would have done just that: improve the pay of frontline screeners and air marshals, not the high-paid bureaucrats at headquarters without all the waste that Title V would provide. I and many of my colleagues stand ready to raise pay for frontline workers, but I cannot in good conscience support a bill that is physically irresponsible, undermines our national security, hinders the agency's missions and flexibility, and prioritizes the interest of the unions over the interests of dedicated frontline workforce and the traveling public. With that, I urge my colleagues to oppose H.R. 903, and I reserve the balance of my time.